Hey everybody, today we're going to be playing some Civilization 7, and we're going to be playing the Carthage civilization. This is one that I've been playing and theory crafting with pretty much since it came out. I'm really enjoying Carthage, and I find that Carthage it allows you to play quite a bit differently than a traditional game of Civ 7. So let's look at what Carthage has, and what Carthage really likes doing, and what Carthage doesn't like doing. So you can only have one city. This sucks. If you like building libraries, if you like building buildings, it's not great. But that's okay because we don't need buildings. We're going to be settling a ton of towns. We're going to be settling so many towns. We get extra production towards an early game wonder that'll give us walls in the capital and make our trade routes unplunderable, which we're pretty happy with because our second goal is to so we're gonna be settling like crazy because our colonists are excellent. We get them 2 at a time from this ability, so we get 2 colonists every time we create one, and our colonists get extra embarked movement and extra population to settle next to a resource. So we can really quickly get out onto the map and settle up all of the choicest pieces of land. And the other thing that we're really happy about, so we've got this Punic Port Unique District, which basically is going to give you a lot of production and a little bit of food and gold on any town that is settled in the water, which is really good because we are able to make a ton of use of water settlements. The other thing that it doesn't show here in the screen, but Carthage's galleys are very good as well. So what that's going to allow us to do is that's going to allow us to forward settle really far because our settlers move really far, and the really powerful galleys that we have are going to allow us to defend crazy forward settles if they're near the coast, because the galley is just nuts early game against like a slinger. You blow slingers away. It's crazy. But even outside of being coastal defense units, we are we want to send boats to every city in the world. They can be trade ships if the other city wants to trade, or they can be galleys if the city wants to go to war with you and provide pillage income. So we're settling on the coast and building boats. And to complement that, we're going to go with Isabella for a couple of reasons. So Isabella is she feels like a pretty finicky leader because she feels very spawn-dependent. You know, if you've played any Isabella, you know that when you get like Redwood Forest, you're like, oh, this game is free because I just spawned with, my first 3 tiles being 4 food, 4 production, 4 happiness, 4 gold, in this case, since I'm running Queen's Jewelry, and that's the easiest game in the world to play. But even outside of your really good wonder starts, Isabella actually has a couple of things that we really like here. So Isabella has first of all, she gets to buy galleys for cheaper, and we already stated that we want to build a ton of boats and send them everywhere. So, basically, 66% cost galleys is what this means. Is really good for sending boats everywhere. And then this gain 300 gold every time we discover a natural wonder. So this is obviously excellent if you spawn on a natural wonder. It means that you can push out an extra scout earlier if you want to. You can push out your colonists as soon as you get 5 population. You can do all sorts of stuff with it. It's excellent. But it also kind of incentivizes you to invest into scouts, which Carthage and Isabella both really like doing, right? Isabella really likes the scouts being good so that you can find the natural wonders and get this gold bonus more often. And Carthage likes them because you want to be settling fast and furious with Carthage, so you actually need your scouting to be pretty quick too. So that's going to bring us to the mementos. We're running Merchant's Saddle, which gives us +1 movement for scouts, merchants, settlers, and explorers. Now you may notice scouts is the thing we're focusing on for Isabella and Carthage. Merchants are excellent with Carthage. That's one of the kinds of boats we can send to every city in the world. And then settlers are, we have a unique settler that spawns extra population, moves really fast already, and make 2 at a time of them. So merchants, I don't remember exactly how you get Merchant's Saddle. I feel like it's an Ibn Battuta unlock, but I'm not 100% sure. But either way, this memento is excellent for this strategy. And then the second one, this one is so you absolutely have to have Merchant's Saddle to play this build. Merchant's Saddle is one of the centerpieces of this build. It's so good. Use it. I'm running Queen's Jewelry because I feel like it makes it run smoothly, but I've tried a lot of different a lot of different mementos in this spot, and they've all kind of worked out okay. And you can even see I don't have most of the mementos, so this one, try whatever you want there. I like Queen's Jewelry, but most things, anything you like works in this slot, in my opinion. So, alright, we're going to go ahead and load up Isabella with Carthage, and we're going to throw it onto a Deity game. We're going to do standard game speed, and this, you can have an excellent, really fun game if you play on Archipelago, where galleys are overpowered, so obviously something, the civilization that makes the best galleys is going to have a good time. But I believe this strategy works really well even on Continents Plus. So that's what we're going to show off today. We're going to do a standard map size. Advanced options, we're going to leave everything normal here. You can bump up the age length if you want. This is basically how you get like an 11 legacy point finish with Carthage. Maybe there's a way to do 12 if you really optimize the monuments, but I haven't found that style of gameplay appealing with Carthage, so I've pretty much stopped at 4 monuments on every Carthage game that I've done so far. And then, yeah, so we'll go ahead and get started then. So we're looking for a couple of things with the settle. Obviously, we're hoping for a natural wonder in the capital. We're hoping for a good natural wonder, but we're gonna try to play whatever start we get. But we might have to reset if we don't get a coastal start. It is imperative as Carthage that you have the ability to build a decent Punic port in your capital. So you really, really need to have like a coastal water tile with good coastal water tile adjacency within the first 2 rings. Usually on ring 2 around your capital. But that is something that's real important. But because I'm trying to show off a very specific playstyle, I'll have to spend some more time theory crafting and trying out different builds to figure out what to do in other situations. But yeah, so that's why we're going to start on this one. So the reason that this start is playable is, first of all, the Great Barrier Reef is an excellent natural wonder. It really solves Carthage's science problem early game, especially with Isabella, which is one of the reasons that I think Isabella synergizes really well with Carthage, is we're going to be able to get a ton of science from that wonder. And because we're running Queen's Jewelry, we're going to kind of double up on that effect as well, since we're going to get food, science, and happiness and gold. We're going to get a ton of it, so we're really going to benefit from immediately grabbing the Great Barrier Reef. We're also happy with this because we have two possible settles here that give us a decent coastal adjacency. This is actually an excellent Punic port overall because it gives us resource adjacency, and it's going to give us the dockyard part of the Punic port is really going to pop off in this spot. So we're actually going to move right there, and that is going to be a slightly late settle, which is rough on Carthage since you only have the one city, so every little bit of tempo counts, but I think it's going to end up being worth it. So we're going to go ahead and drop a scout. Now we do have the option here, since we have the natural wonder that we discovered immediately, to buy our second scout if we want to. And you can also see, because we're running Merchant's Saddle, the scouts move so much further, which is both great for exploration, because you can move 2 tiles and still get an explorer action off, but it's also it makes your scouts way safer in the face of barbarians in a lot of cases, because it just makes it harder for them to be caught. So this salt as the first thing we get is actually going to be excellent because it gets us closer to the Great Barrier Reef, and also the first couple of things we're going to be building here are units. So we're basically going to build scouts up until 3, or until we can start building galleys, because we really, really want galleys. So we're going to be able to get a ton of happiness from the wonder, so we don't really care about the happiness here. We definitely want the culture. Unusual red salt is unearthed from a mine. Cooks demanded as a rare ingredient, but clash with augurs. I wonder what that is. Claim it is holy ritual salt. Well, either way, it's going to be holy ritual salt because we want the culture, unfortunately. Personally, I would really, really be interested in trying the cooking with whatever that is. So, but we need the culture. So we're going to go for sailing, just because, like I said, we're trying to send boats everywhere. Isabella really, really likes boats, and because we're coastal, we can actually make them really early and get a lot of value out of them because they can defend our capital. So we really like, and that's another reason that Isabella synergizes really well, right? Because the downside of going for sailing is that you're not able to unlock like the brickyard or the bonuses on mines or quarries or whatever that you get out of pottery and animal husbandry and masonry rust, right? But Isabella doesn't really care about having those early because you're spending your first, most of your first 5 population on a natural wonder in this game. So you basically don't feel the penalty of going for sailing first at all, which is excellent because Carthage really likes going sailing first. So that's my thoughts. We've got an economic city-state here, which is pretty decent. There's a reasonable chance we just end up conquering them. And we got a lighthouse here as well. So one of our scouts we're going to want to send coastally. And the general rule with scouts, we're obviously looking for goody huts with them early, but you really want your scouts to map out the coastline as much as possible. The coastline is where you want to be settling. That's basically what it is. Yeah, it's where you want to be settling, so you want your scouts to be there. And we're going to be a little bit production starved early as Carthage, but that's okay because you don't really need that much production early, which sounds weird, but we're basically... the idea is that we can use Isabella's early game gold scaling to kind of slingshot us past the early game that's really weak on production. Let's see, we really don't want to lose this unit. A horseman would be excellent, but a horseman... I don't know, it's high maintenance, it's losing my scout in a forward position, and it's 300 gold. We're just going to take the food, which is especially useful since we're not at 5 population yet, so the horseman's kind of a tempting choice. I'm probably actually just going to fast forward through this until... and I take that back because we immediately are able to... So, because we got that population, that brought our capital up to 5, and we immediately want to be settling colonists, excuse me. That's what it feels sometimes. You're just spreading Carthage as far as wide as you can. And that's actually a little bit early because we haven't scouted as much as we'd like to, and we don't have any galleys out. But it should still be okay because we've got sailing coming in a few turns. We've got a few goody huts coming in, so hopefully we can pick up a bit of science from them. And actually, I guess sailing is going to be very quick with having this entire... Yeah, so we're going to get it in 2 turns anyway. That's absolutely excellent. All right, we got that new population. And we're also pretty happy to see a science city-state here. We probably want to end up suzeraning them because they do actually have a pretty excellent Punic port location right here because you can connect with a fishing key here and then get a 5 adjacency Khoton, which is insane. But at least early we probably want to Suze them because the step pyramid is a great way to squeeze some science out of our land, which is hard to do because Carthage can't build cities, so it's hard to build science and culture buildings. Other than that, we kind of want to rush culture with the idea. Normally, like, gold would be very good, but the idea is that our scouts should be getting us the gold for discovering natural wonders earlier than usual, and we should have enough gold to make our early game work. So there are a couple of ways you can go with the early game civics here. Obviously, getting the Khoton and the dockyard are excellent buildings, so I don't think it's often wrong to go with one of these first. Usually I think ship sheds is better to go first if you're going to go here, but these are great. But I honestly think that I think you get a lot from going for merchant as the first thing you rush, which might sound crazy to start with, but so the policy you unlock here, survey, gives your scouts extra movement, and sight is actually excellent for what we're doing. We really care about our scouts being excellent, so a policy that makes them better is real good. And the army commander isn't great for this build because you really don't want a big land military for most of the game, but if you can get him to get an early leadership promotion that gives your city 5% extra yields, it can be worth it to level up your commander once and then just park him on Carthage for the rest of the game. Mysticism was also real good. The altar is one of the only buildings you'll be able to build in your towns, so you like having access to it. The priesthood is actually really good. We're going to be settling fast and furious, so there's going to be a point where priesthood is worth like 10 gold, and that's going to be like 20% of our economy or something like that. So it's actually really good to have this early as well. And then merchants obviously is part of our stated goal of sending boats to every city in the world. So we like having merchants early. So for all those reasons, I'm actually gonna do this rush, and I kind of like having the better scouts first over having mysticism, just because I really really like having a lot of scouting done before I'm settling. It makes a huge difference if you settle a city that's that much better, because you know all of the surrounding land and whatnot. Government, we're going to go with Classical Republic. We don't want to go for oligarchy for any reason, because the science and culture here are hugely important. You basically want to be squeezing science and culture wherever you can as Carthage, and the government is no exception. And we're gonna go with, so despotism is actually more tempting than usual because we got a Great Barrier Reef, so 20% science is actually pretty crazy for us here. But we're still actually gonna go Classical Republic here, just because early game culture I think tends to be better than science, which means that this is more impactful early game. And then I also think that the construction towards wonders, it's not always useful, but when it is, it's super impactful. So we're going to go ahead and take Classical Republic for those reasons. And we've got some social policies. We're going to go for culture because we need more culture. We have a huge source of science, so we don't really need to be investing in that. And then we are just going to go back to scouting the map. So I'll probably show like 2 more turns here before I fast forward stuff, because I want to get the settling started. And the idea with the settlers is we're sending them along the coastlines looking for places that allow you to settle adjacent to a resource so that you get the population bonus. Ideally you want to capture strong resources, and you're looking for spots that have strong Punic port capabilities. So immediately we're going to get, oh dang, there are scouts there. So we're going to try to get both of our, let's see, I think animal husbandry looks right here. There are a couple of rough tiles, but animal husbandry is real good just because it gets you closer to, this isn't the screen I want to look at, I want to look in here. It gets you closer to the wheel, which you obviously need pottery for both, but masonry is excellent because walls are great for, they're great for you, and the monument gives you something to shape Carthage with. Plus, it's never bad to have extra production on mines and quarries, so you're really happy about getting masonry early, and it also gets you closer to Numidian cavalry, which are just the best unit. Like, they are the best Antiquity Age unit. They're so incredibly powerful. It doesn't even matter that the Deity AI have insane bonuses, because the Numidian cavalry is just so excellent. So, probably go ahead and pick up that lighthouse. It also, if you're watching me scouting here, it's so smooth having 50% extra movement on your scouts. It feels so good. Science is better than food here, but we actually mostly just don't want to spend the gold because we haven't found any natural wonders yet, and it's nice to have a little bit of gold to react with. We're pretty close to being able to buy a galley because Carthage gets galleys for so cheap. So. Though I actually need a fishing key before I can buy that galley, unfortunately. And the fishing key can't come immediately because... Oh, that's interesting. Maybe I should have settled in this location. How are we going to get around that? So the granary is not a hugely useful building here. We're kind of just building it for adjacency. And we've got our 3 scouts out, but the idea is that we want to get the fishing key in this location up as early as possible so that we can start buying galleys. And we didn't get any hostile city states nearby. We got an isolated enough spawn that we should be safe to do that. And let's send this scout along this coastline, just so that we can start to get vision through there. Oh, Grand Canyon. There's a bunch of gold, and we're almost definitely going to be trying to settle the Grand Canyon because the Grand Canyon is excellent. This is kind of a tough one because 75 gold just numerically is worth way more than 15 production. 15, it's 5 times as much gold. So This one's tough because we are producing something right now, but the way that buildings work in this game, you can actually, if you build most of a building and then you cancel it and buy it, it prorates the cost of buying it by however much production you've put in. So we're actually just going to take the gold every time because we have the option to turn that into production towards the granary we're currently building, if we so desire. That part feels... It's certainly nice that you don't lose out on buildings if you start producing them and later on decide to buy them, but it certainly feels strong for the play patterns that it enables. And now you're going to see these colonists in the water move 4 tiles, which is just... You get so far with them. You're able to settle insanely far with them. And this is Merchant Saddle in combination with the fact that colonists are just excellent units. This scout, there is another goody hut up here. Someone also picked up the goody hut that was here. So I think we're going to send this northernmost scout towards the goody hut just because we're still in a period of the game where we can get goody huts. And we'll have this scout move towards the Grand Canyon. But this first settler is probably... We're hoping that there's like a bit of coastline near that Grand Canyon, or maybe there's a navigable river that goes up to the Grand Canyon, which is not as good if it's just a navigable river, because we usually can't build the Punic port out of them. But it allows us to get galleys in for defense, and that's really what determines whether or not you can make a really dangerous forward settle with Carthage or not, is if you can get galleys in place to defend the city. So that's what we're hoping for. We're going to go with neutral here just because we really care about our influence, and we actually don't care if this leader goes to war with us or if they like us. If they like us, we'll trade with them. If they go to war with us, we'll pillage them. He likes civilizations with high happiness, so this one can go either way. Right now we've got really high happiness because of the natural wonder that we're going crazy on, but we're going to almost completely ignore that settlement limit is a number in this game. So there will certainly be points during the gameplay where our happiness is not high. It's actually worth stopping to consider a settle here, getting cotton, silver, and dyes in a settlement is real good, but we're still hoping to get an excellent Grand Canyon settle here. And the thing is, the settlers move so fast that even though it's technically suboptimal that we settle late because we're using them to scout a little bit as we're settling, we're still going to be able to get excellent settles. So fish and this is a really good early game settle because fish and dates are great for growing cities. Marble is decent for wonders, and we've got a... Hopefully there's like more, but this looks like it's probably going to be a good Punic port location, so we might just take a settle here, which will turn Moreau hostile, but that's okay. We don't really need an economic city-state. I want to move our scout first, because hopefully they'll be able to... And actually the scout's too slow, unfortunately. Yeah, this extra little bit of coast tile here is excellent. That's what we wanted to see. So I think... Yeah, I think we're going to go for this settle right here. So this settle has everything we want. We've got a decent dockyard right here, or a decent Khoton, because it has 1, 2, 3 coast adjacencies. So that's going to be like a 5 production Khoton to start with. Not the greatest, but pretty decent. We've got good resources that we can slot into towns. We're starting right next to them so that we're going to get that immediate extra population. We are probably going to take out Moreau, so we'll eventually get this cotton, which actually makes this settlement perfect. So we're super taking this settlement as soon as we get next turn. Let's see. Oh, look, Ashoka wants to give us influence. Influence from these diplomatic actions is excellent. You really want to be spending your influence on... We're going to be stealing technology a lot because, again, science is hard to come by, so getting technology for free by stealing them is real good. Ooh, that's a navigable river. That's what we want to see. Oh, and it's a lake, too. We might actually be able to get a real settle out of this Grand Canyon. This is becoming real. Okay, so we're a little bit dangerous now. We're going to go into masonry because that'll allow us to build walls if we need to, which is going to be real good for us. And we're also going to... let's see. what does it cost to rush production on the granary? So the granary only costs 144 to rush production because we put some production into it. We're going to go ahead and do that. And then the fishing key... So I think we're going to go view hidden so we can look at the cost of a galley is 130 gold. The UI is slightly messed up, probably because of one of the mods I'm running, but this actually means that we have enough money to build a fishing key here and then purchase a galley, which is going to be excellent. And we're going to immediately send this galley towards this really, really greedy forward settle to have some defense in the area, because obviously the AI should be slaughtering us for doing something that greedy. Hopefully we can avoid that happening to us too much, but we will see. So what are we going to do here? We're going to start building the saw pit, and not necessarily because... Actually, I take that back. We might... So this is a tough one. The saw pit is really good here because getting the science and culture from making a quarter really early on is super relevant for Carthage, since again, we don't get a ton of science and culture, so every point counts. But making more colonists is really tempting because colonists are great for Carthage, and making more galleys is also really tempting. We're less interested in making galleys because we purchase galleys so cheaply with gold, so we're going to be able to have a pretty big military just from the gold, but I think we're going to go for the science and culture from getting the quarter. It might not look like a huge amount of yields, but Carthage needs science and culture so much more than other cities because it's so much harder to get that it's often worth making decisions that feel suboptimal because they get you more science and culture that you desperately need. So that's and the idea is that we should still be, we've only discovered one natural wonder so far, and it looks like there's a hostile independent civ here as well, which might make things, yeah, that's going to make things a little bit harder, but luckily the galley is still real good for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to park this settler here for a moment, and we're going to kind of scout the area. Let's go ahead and take that settle. And we actually managed to get a road from Carthage still. Always happy when that happens. It's not as important because we're going to be building a fishing key in pretty much every town, so we should be connected navally to our entire trade network the entire game. But ooh, there's it looks like, I hope there's not a hostile city-state down here. Or a hostile independent people. That would certainly suck. Let's see, let's grab our good growing resources first, and let's slot them in. And that's kind of what we're going to be doing for a while. We're going to be building settlers, we're going to be building galleys, and we're going to be forward settling like crazy, and then rushing to get defenses in place once we forward settle. So that's the strategy, and I'll probably cut for a while and get back to you guys later. So, alright, so we're a bit further ahead in the game now, and we have advanced our agenda of building lots of boats. See, we've got quite the navy started here. We're forward settling like crazy. You see we have Leptis that we settled here right on top of Lafayette's Rome because we found the Bermuda Triangle, which is an excellent natural wonder for Carthage specifically, because we really like the science and culture that we're going to get from this wonder, and as Isabella, with extra gold from it, these are just generally going to be great tiles for us. And because this is a coastal city, especially it's a coastal city with some mountain adjacency here, this is going to be excellently defensible with a galley or two. Unfortunately, our southern tip of our island does not allow for boats from Carthage to go around, so we're going to need to build up Thenay or Leptis a little bit to have a decent naval base on this side of the continent. But over here on the other side of the continent, we're probably going to take this settle right here. It breaks a lot of our rules of settling because it's a very difficult to defend settlement. It's kind of an open plains. There's a lot of rough here, which is really nice, so that means that enemies will move to us slowly. But we won't be able to defend this city with galleys, and it might be a little bit harder to defend, but we get 2 silver resources out of it, which are absolutely insane in the mid and late game for buying galleys and Numidian cavalry, which are excellent. And it's also got access to 2 cotton resources, which just makes this a impossible to pass up settlement. And the idea is this one will be a little bit harder to defend, but hopefully our even more egregious forward settles will take up more attention from the enemies. So you see here, with just a single galley, we were able to clear out the hostile aggressive power here, and we're also going to be able to finish off the remaining warriors here. And it takes a while because we deal 20 to 25 damage a turn, and they heal for 10 a turn, so it's going to take a little bit, but we are eventually going to be able to lock up this settle right here, which gets us... this one's a little bit tough because this settle is really interesting also, but this being a really, really egregious forward settle, we want to stick to being able to put a galley into the capital, and this is also only attackable from 2 locations, which are both targetable from the water, so I think this is going to be the best settlement location for us, even though it prevents us from picking up the entire Grand Canyon, and it also doesn't allow us to settle these camels, but we still get... Hopefully we can get these sheep. We'll probably possibly get these dates as well. We get the incense, and then we get the Grand Canyon, so it's going to be a pretty decent settle, and it will certainly serve as an even more egregious forward settle to distract attention from this settle, which isn't very safe. So we're also choosing our Pantheon here, and as per usual, most of the good Pantheon, most of the AI have already got their Pantheons, but luckily we have a kind of interesting take on Pantheons because of what we're doing. So God of the Sea is more interesting than usual, because just in general we're going to have more fishing boats. So this is a way to get a bunch of extra gold out of your coastal cities, which can be worthwhile. We also have the option of going God of the Sun or God of Wisdom. So you're ideally going to be getting quarters in every city, at least with the Punic port, and then you can possibly stack up 2 warehouse buildings in every town as well. So getting 2 science out of per town is actually pretty decent for a civilization that really struggles getting science. So this one is worth considering. We're probably not going to, because we've got Isabella with a lot of science-heavy wonders, so we don't care as much about it. And kind of the same reason for God of the Sun. God of the Sun is... God of the Sun is really nice because there's no adjacency requirement, and there's also no city requirement. You just put one of these in every city, and it makes every city a little bit better. And because it has culture and science, which are things that as Carthage we have a harder time getting in the first place, it actually makes this, in my opinion, it makes this one usable. The other option that's a bit odd, but I think works for Carthage pretty well, is Sacred Waters is actually fairly okay. The idea of Sacred Waters is that we can get a 5 happiness or a 5 to 7 happiness altar in pretty much every town that we're going to be settling. So the way that we can look at that is that it effectively cancels out 1 level of penalty from being over the settlement limit. So Sacred Waters is actually worth considering here. In this case, I'm just going to kind of go with God of the Sun, because in general, God of the Sun probably isn't the most optimal choice in any game, but I like God of the Sun a lot because I don't like to think too hard about placing my altars, and it's also nice that I can use the altar as a purely city building tool. Like, I don't ever have to worry about the adjacency of it. I just place it in the direction that I want to grow my city. So, for those reasons, we're going to pick up God of the Sun and continue our... And I just love seeing all of the different yields across it when when it's an option. Like, I know it's not technically that many, but I don't know. It still feels nice. It makes me happy to see all of the resources. All right, let's see. We're gonna go ahead and build. We're gonna build it right here. Again, not the greatest positioning, but it doesn't matter where we position it, and it gets us the quarters early, which starts our science and culture up really early. Let's see, we've got a defenseless settlement here. We do have a commander right now with a warrior and a slinger on the way to defend it, so I think we're just going to assume that that's enough, and that this setup will eventually be able to take out Moreau, allowing us to claim the cotton, get some gold, and not have a hostile city state right in our borders. Let's see. We're going to go ahead and... So, I think this settlement is already a really egregious inland settle that it breaks pretty much all of our rules. I think we are actually going to move 1 tile further to get fresh water, because that still hits both of the cotton that we want, it still reaches both of the silver that we want, and the happiness is going to be... And normally I think it doesn't matter as much to max out the happiness bonuses from freshwater, but since our plan in this game is to really abuse the settler limit, we're not planning on paying a lot of attention to the settler limit. It's just a number that doesn't concern us very much. So, as a consequence of that, having the 5 extra happiness per town of sticking to freshwater is pretty good. And the idea is that we are going to be making enough towns that having slightly suboptimal resources out of a town because we prioritize freshwater or something like that will be made up for by the fact that it's like one of 12 towns or something like that. So, what are we going to do here? Normally I'd push science, but we've actually got a lot of... This one's kind of a tough one because neither of these are worth a whole lot. This is only a turn and a half with science, so it's not a big deal. And it's only like 3 turns of happiness. I think we're going to push the science, just because, as I've mentioned a million times, that's harder to come by as Carthage than average, so it's worth slightly more. This scout has been completely blocked off by the geography and by an enemy warrior being here, and since I'm not spreading land military around a lot, we're kind of just hoping that he goes away, which has not worked so far. It's going to be good that our commander's in this area. We might have to buy a slinger in Rusicade to keep a hold on it. That's also going to be our first settlement that is over the limit. So let's see, early on, I think we're just going to go for the cotton because early on cotton is insane. So yeah, we just picked up 2 food and 2 production for the capital, which is nutty. Let's see, we're gonna shift around. These dates give happiness, so we're gonna pop them into. Ooh, all of our towns are unhappy right now, so we are going to pick the town that we want to grow the most. And I think it's actually Rusicade. Rusicade has a lot of distance to grow to get all of these resources we want. And we also just need this town to grow a little bit bigger in general because it needs to be better able to defend itself. So let's view our resource allocation. So first of all, Carthage is almost never going to be suffering negative happiness penalties because we're playing Isabella, and we have a natural wonder that gets excellent happiness. So this is part of why we're completely ignoring the settlement cap, is because unhappiness is going to be really hard to find in our most productive settlement. So we kind of don't care if most of our towns have unhappiness production because they're ultimately not producing that much in the first place. And we can also kind of use resources to prioritize which towns we want to do the best. So right here I can put the dates into Rusicade. Dates are excellent because they give me a little bit of extra growth for my town, and they also give me the option to get rid of happiness penalties in a lot of cases. So let's put the cotton into Carthage, obviously, and then I think we're going to move the fish over to Leptis. Generally I think fish are just better. You want to put them in whichever settlement has the lowest food per turn, because food is better the less of it you have, and it's worse the more of it you have. So I always like to push them towards this is a tough one because 50 gold is really good, but the +1 production on the palace is going to last the rest of the game. This is probably going to go to turn 130 or so. This is effectively 100 production over the course of the game. I think that's worth more than a 50 gold burst right now, because we're kind of floating gold right now because we're not exactly sure where we have to defend. So it behooves us to have a little bit of a war chest. And actually, you know what, I think I am just going to buy, now that I mentioned saving the gold, we're just going to pick up a slinger and Rusicade to make sure we don't have to worry about it. And then, with the rest of this gold, we might be looking to pick up a fishing key in Thenay or Leptis, so that we can start getting galleries on this side of the world. So I think we're actually going to do that as well. Let's go ahead and drop down our fishing key in Thenay, which already has a bunch of fishing boats. Let's see, we want this spot to be our Punic port, so we'll go ahead and drop our fishing key on the navigable river tile. Usually I like ocean tiles a little bit better as Carthage than navigable river tiles as rural tiles, so we're gonna build on top of that. That'll also make our dockyard slightly better to have an urban tile adjacent to it. So, and then we can't quite afford the galley yet, but we can at least buy galleys now once we get to 130 gold. It's ridiculous how cheap it is for Isabella to just cover the map in galleys. Probably next turn we'll be able to get a foothold onto the continent we want to go to. We're gonna try to scout out. So we've got Ashoka, the World Renouncer, that spawned right next to us that we're about to egregiously forward settle. And the idea is that this town here that we make will serve as an excellent trade hub to trade with Ashoka if he doesn't go to war with us. And if he does, we've got a ton of navy over here, so we'll just pillage him out of the game. We're going to be able to pillage this town to no end. I see a lot of coastal adjacency on this town over here, and hopefully there's another, like a city over here or something that has some coastal adjacency. So we're going to be getting a lot of value from Ashoka with our boats, whether he wants to trade or war. Let's see. Yeah, we finally take out the warrior there, and we're going to go ahead and just, like I said, snag that settle ASAP. I am actually going to leave 2 galleys in the water here, just because of how dangerous of this is one of the most egregious forward settles you're ever going to see. We'll pick up a tile worth of the Natural Wonder so that our water tiles start to get science on them, which is pretty relevant. So now we've got 5 science and 4 culture coming in from Leptis. That actually makes it tempting to move my dates to Leptis, but I don't know. We should be solving our happiness problems eventually with irrigations coming in soon, which will increase our settlement limit, and then we're going to be able to switch to the Carthage unique civics ending in Sicilian Wars, which gives us 2 settlement limit eventually too. So it's not a huge deal that our cities or our towns are unhappy right now. Thank you for the gold, Confucius. Which, again, we're just accepting all because we don't care if they like us or they hate us. We're going to get our money from them anyway, and we don't want to spend our influence on diplomacy right now. That is influence that could be used to improve trade relations, which is what we want to be doing. We're continuously getting blocked on this scout, but maybe now that there's another scout in the way. Nope, the warrior's still there. Alright, we're just going to give up and go all the way around, I think. We've lost too much exploring time. Luckily, it's not going to hurt us as much, again, because our scouts move 50% faster, so they're very good. And we're not done settling by any means, but we're done settling for a little bit since, we mentioned that the settlement cap is just a number, but we still... once you start getting 3 settlements over the cap, the happiness penalty starts to get hard to deal with. And it's possible to deal with, but that's the point where you need to start addressing it rather than just accepting that some of your towns are going to be suffering a happiness penalty. Ooh, that was excellent timing. So let's upgrade this commander. And I mentioned with the army commander, we don't want a ton of land military, so we're going to be looking to get zeal. But I think that we have enough to do with this commander to get a combat promotion first. So we're going to go with steadfast here, because the idea is that we want to use the commander a little bit early game, but then we basically want to plop him in Carthage and have him increase the yields and defend Carthage. So let's see. We're going to use the slinger to barrage one of those enemies, and our warrior might die if we leave him alone here, and the city actually has some defense to it. So we're actually just going to retreat the warrior into the water so that he cannot be attacked immediately. We're starting to get close to Teotihuacan Suzing, which is really good. He's going to give us the step pyramid option, which will allow us to get a little bit of extra science out of our land, which is great because we need science and we have land. So, enemy approaches Rusticade. Really glad we bought the Slinger here. The Slinger should be able to hold down this town through the assault from... I'm not sure if it's coming from Moreau or Shamron, but ideally we're going to be clearing out both of them. Let's see. We have an inland city, and we're forward settling some people who don't have any problems going to war. So I think we're actually going to go for wheel first here instead of going into writing, just because 1 or 2 Numidian cavalry are really going to control the battlefield. It is nuts how good Numidian cavalry are, especially because they, once you have a couple Numidian cavalry, they basically incentivize you to just focus your economy and get more resources into the capital, which is pretty strong. So, alright, we're going to park a galley into that city as soon as we settle it, which is pretty good, and start on clearing out the barbarians. And then we are immediately going to start growing towards the Grand Canyon and the silver. So I think we're going to take this tile because that starts allowing us to get the Grand Canyon, but it also gets us closer to the silver that we want to grab. There's also a consideration for these sheep, but we should be able to, if we see Ashoka expand out towards the sheep, we should be able to just buy a building on this desert tile to capture the sheep. And the dates are going to be a little bit harder. We might not actually be able to secure the dates, but we should be able to get most of the resources that are in range of this settlement. And the 2 galleys that are there should really defend us. So even though we're really risking war with Ashoka here, we still want to have a galley exploring the rest of his territory, because we really want to be pillaging him immediately if he goes to war with us, because that will allow us to continue building defenses and or navy by giving us more gold. And it also, the AI really does not seem to like being pillaged, so it'll make it really easy to sue for peace if we've been ransacking his cities for a while. So yeah, that's the plan there. We can't get to this cotton yet, which is kind of a bummer. The pearls here are nice, but Carthage doesn't need happiness right now. So we're actually just going to continue grabbing fishing tiles, because they make our towns grow faster. And food does fall off, but our towns don't really have much to do other than generate gold and grow, so that they can be excellent cities in exploration. So fishing tiles are real good. So yeah, that's basically what we're going to be doing until we get Code of Laws unlocked and we're able to start sending out merchants. Once we start sending out merchants and we switch over to researching Carthaginian civics, our economy engine is going to start going. But right now we're just settling, defending, and doing boat stuff. So, hey everybody, welcome back. It is turn 39 in this Carthage game, and we have just finished researching the wheel. So we now have Numidian cavalry available to us, and Numidian cavalry are probably the best unit in Antiquity Age. They're absolutely insane. So they're fairly expensive to purchase. If we look here, and it's kind of hard to see because the mod doesn't seem to be placing the text correctly, but they cost about 360 gold, so they're pretty expensive. But their unique ability is that they have extra combat strength for every resource in the capital. And it says every unique resource in the capital, so ideally you would want to have one of each type of resource in the capital. But right now, it it doesn't seem to actually care if the resources are unique. It just cares about how many resources are in the capital. So Carthage right now, I have a fairly modest 3 resources in there. But as I start researching like currency and sending out trade routes, we're pretty regularly going to get Carthage to the point of having like 15-20 resources in it, and the Numidian cavalry as a consequence are going to have like 50 combat strength or something like that, which is something that I get just by investing in my economy. So the Numidian cavalry are going to become insane. Because of how good Numidian cavalry are, we're no longer as worried about being able to defend all of our cities with galleys. So, for instance, we're kind of interested in scouting this area and dropping a settlement like roughly here, because we would like to capture the some more of this Grand Canyon that Matya is not going to be able to capture. And this looks like a lot of flat terrain over here to take advantage of the science that the Grand Canyon gives. So we probably want to look for a settlement in roughly this area. We're still exploring the world as efficiently as we can, because we want to find everything. You'll also notice that we've started to spread our navy out to try to be near everybody. And the idea is that, so currently nobody's at war with us. I'm not sure why, especially Ashoka specifically. He's a little bit mad at me because I've settled right on top of him, but he's not not ready to go to war yet, so we'll take it. But the idea, we still want to have galleys in place so that if anybody decides that they want to go to war with us, we have a galley immediately in place to start pillaging everything that they own. You know, we look at Rusilla here, for instance, has 2 fishing boats, a jade tile, so that's 90 gold that we can pillage out of this city. And then there's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe, nah, that's just 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 tiles that are all pillageable, so that's 9 times 30, that's 270 gold we can get out of that city. There are all sorts of pillageable tiles, so we really want to be able to get our money's worth out of enemies going to war with us. We should actually be a little bit worried about Ashoka here, because he's got some dudes there. We might spend some influence. Yeah, we're going to denounce his military presence, and that's I believe it's worth doing, because it will often cause the enemy to either start war with you or receive a ton of penalties if they do start a war with you. And we're kind of doing it provocatively. We know it's going to reduce our relationship even further because we sanctioned him a little bit. But if he decides to go to war, we'll be heavily advantaged. And we also kind of want him to go to war with us because we kind of want to start looting this incredible source of pillage income. And this boat here, we could bring it back to loot Ashoka if Ashoka decides that he wants to go, but we also kind of want to. It kind of looks like Axum might be pillageable here, so we're gonna see if we can get open borders with him. Hopefully he says yeah. So sweet. We'll be able to scout out as much of his coastline as possible, and we want to just leave a boat here in case for whatever reason we have problems with Napoleon in the future. So we've gotten the wheel, which is the most important thing we want to get. So from here, we're probably going to move into writing, just because we want to get to currency now. Normally, I would make a pit stop to grab the steel technological advancement, because Carthage really cares about science. But since the Grand Canyon is an excellent science wonder, we're going to be getting we're not currently getting a lot of science out of Matya because it's not very big, but we're going to start getting a ton of science out of Matya. We're getting 16 science out of this Great Barrier. Look at the yields on this natural wonder. It's so beautiful. I love playing Isabella. I know Isabella is like the very most obviously on its face powerful leader that you don't have to think about very hard. But God, it's nice seeing those yields. But because we have so incredibly much science, we're actually going to skip the espionage, just because we're the only one who's actually maybe ahead of us is Confucius, and he's only a little bit ahead of us. So I would rather just use the science and save the influence for we can use the influence to we might decide we want to grow Teotihuacan or something like that. We might decide we want to seize another city-state, which actually could be really reasonable. We're kind of interested. Let's go ahead and grab Ashoka's working on Shamron. That's interesting. We'd have to pump extra influence to steal it. We kind of don't want Ashoka having a city-state that's so into our empire, though. So I think we are actually we're gonna pump extra influence into Shamron. So we're gonna pay attention here, and we're gonna add extra support whenever we can. And we still might lose out on it, but it's I think it's very good to have a city-state just kind of producing military and near your forward settlements, because that will make it so much easier to defend if the city-state is just also going to war with anybody who attacks you and being a nuisance. So Lafayette unfortunately denied our open borders last time we asked him for open borders, which is a little bit unfortunate because we would like to explore through his territory with our galley, but it's also not the worst because we can't quite tell, but he's got a navigable river going through his territory here. So if this is Rome right here, Rome is going to be incredibly pillageable. And we might even actually end up capturing Rome if it's a decent coastal settlement, because I love the historical irony of Carthage capturing Rome, but B, just because it's a coastal city. We like those. We like having coastal towns and coastal cities, and if we can get a big one from Rome, then we'll get a big one from Rome. So we do want to prioritize keeping our forward position scouts alive, just because we really care about exploring as much of the map as possible so that we can see all of the settle locations and get all of the trading partners. So you'll notice, like, this scout that took some damage, I actually brought him back to a town to heal up, and it's going to mean that our scouting overall is a little bit slower, but we're going to end up with a lot more of the map scouted, which is very relevant given how if you're so I've been cutting a lot of this video, but even just watching the playthrough the bits of this playthrough that I am showing, you'll notice that I'm spending barely any time looking at my cities or settlements, because I'm not really doing a ton with my cities or settlements. You know, we're gonna grab the silver here because our goal is to start pumping out Numidian cavalry, and each silver makes that a little bit easier. So Numidian cavalry used to cost 360 gold, and now it costs 300 gold. So we've still got a ways to go before we can start making Numidian cavalry, but it's going to be really worthwhile once we get it, because once we get Numidian cavalry, we're going to absolutely steamroll Moreau. We're going to be able to completely steamroll Ashoka if he goes to war with us. The Numidian cavalry are just insanely strong. They I think they're unironically the strongest unit in Antiquity Age. Technically, it'd be a little bit faster to get the pearls by going through this woodcutter, but I kind of just want to keep on growing food, and getting 1 gold from the fishing tile versus 2 gold from the plains tile is fine. We really want this reef anyway, and we'll get to the pearls eventually, so we're going to go ahead and just expand coastally, since this is not a great settlement otherwise. I don't know, we're happy with it. We're going to pick up 5 resources out of it, a lot of coastal tiles, and the nice thing is, because we're settling so many, it doesn't matter if some of them are suboptimal. So it might have been a mistake to spend influence on the Shamron, because I don't actually know if we'll be able to catch up to him, but it's worth the shot, because we probably do want to clear them out if we can't catch up to him, which should be a bummer to spend as much influence as we have, and then decide that we're actually just going to destroy the Independent Civ instead of suzeraining them. But sometimes it'd be like that. We're okay slow-rolling Moreau here, because this Slinger, we're technically gaining a drip of experience on our commander, and we're kind of just waiting for the Numidian cavalry to come in, since we'll take a lot of unit damage if we try to fight right now, but if we wait for the Numidian cavalry, we'll basically be able to clear out Moreau for no units lost, since the Numidian cavalry is so incredibly strong. Oh, Napoleon is going to be so pillaged. We're so happy to see enemies on coastal terrain, because that means that we can get naval trade routes to them, which we really like, and we're able to do because our naval trade route range is insane, which we actually just got that available to us. So let's see. We are making Bursa in Carthage. So Bursa actually makes our trade routes better, so we're going to keep doing that, but we're going to queue up 2 rounds of merchants after that. That should bring us up to 5 merchants as soon as Bursa's finished, which is going to be pretty relevant. And then we're going to start trading. We're actually just going to go to Teotihuacan, because it's only 1 resource, but it is a cotton resource, and it's a city-state we're seized, so it's never going to go to war with us. This trade route is never going to break, and we're going to be making tons of trade routes anyway, since we double build merchants. So now that we've gotten Code of Laws, so there is an argument for, let's see, going for the Mastery on Mysticism, because Clan Networks is excellent for this strategy, since we're going to have a ton of low-food towns, since we're just settling like crazy. Honor is okay, and Gate of All Nations is okay. If you're in a really war-heavy, you could consider going for this one, but I think the Numidian cavalry is so strong that the Gate of All Nations doesn't matter as much. And then there's also an argument for rushing all the way to organized military to build the Mausoleum of Theodoric, since we haven't done any pillaging yet, because nobody's gone to war with us yet, but we've been talking about it a lot, and pillaging is a huge part of our strategy, so Mausoleum of Theodoric would be really good. I find that it's almost impossible to get Mausoleum of Theodoric. The AI seem to really like to rush this wonder. And also, we're going to start benefiting really heavily from getting the Carthage unique civics anyway. So, ship sheds, it gives us the Khoton, which is how we're going to get gold out of our cities, by putting Khotons in every city. It's just excellent. It also makes our galleys move faster, and if we get the mastery, it gives our galleys range, which is why they're such incredible coastal defenders. We might actually not get this naval range as early as I usually do, just because we have an incredible science start this game, so we actually have Numidian cavalry already, so I'm not relying on my navy as much anymore, since the cavalry is an option now. Tanit's going to give you the dockyard, which you want both of them, obviously, because the Punic port as a unique district is excellent. It increases your trade range, it gives you extra resource capacity in your towns, and we really want to get, both of these without the mastery first. Gallos is a really strong mastery. You can effectively look at it like a slightly better gold resource as a policy, which is really relevant because we want to be building a lot of buildings in towns. So, and specifically, we want to be building Khotons and dockyards, which build in coastal navigable rivers. So, this mastery is super worth it. And then Sicilian Wars, I want to like Sufets. I want to like the policy that this gives, but I kind of think both mining towns and fishing towns are terrible. I don't think you should ever be using those specializations just because of I don't know. I've got a pretty long-winded explanation of why I think that those specializations should never be used, which I'm not going to do right now. But if you guys really want to hear it, let me know in the comments, and I'll wax on about why I think that those two specializations should never be used. But the +2 settlement limit on Sicilian Wars is excellent. It's one of the only civs that has 2 settlements in their unique civic tree. And then the mastery is pretty good as well. Movement and sight to Numidian cavalry is, once again, awesome. Already the best unit in the game. Sure, give them extra movement and sight. Make them even better, which we love that. And the other piece of it is that it allows you to use trade outpost focus to slot codexes, which we like for a bunch of reasons. One, because that's obviously the only way we're going to win a science victory or get any science points is by having places to put our codexes. But also the excuse me. So let's look at a trade outpost here. So this probably isn't the most exciting city to look at it in. Let's look at it in Rusicade. So we're not going to do it right now, obviously. We can't because we don't have enough population. So we'll do it in Thin A. So not only will the trade outpost give us so it'll give us a place to put our codexes, which we need because we're Carthage. So that's really good. It increases the range of our trade routes, which is really good because, as I mentioned earlier, we want to send boats to every city in the map. And extra trade route range helps us send merchant boats to those cities. So that's really good. And the happiness that we get from trade outpost that's another piece of the puzzle in countering the unhappiness penalty from going way over the settlement limit. So right now I'm only on 5 out of 4, so it's not that bad. But I'll regularly be playing on 10 out of 7 as my number of settlements versus my settlement cap, and trade outpost is one of the ways that we can mitigate that by quite a bit. So for all those reasons, trade outposts end up being really good for this strategy of Carthage. So we're not going to do it now because we still want Thin A to grow. Basically, the idea with the towns is you want them. I'd like to grow them until they collect every resource that could be within their borders, and then switch them over to trade outposts just to pump that happiness, pump that trade route range, everything we discussed being good about trade outposts. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and get ship sheds first, just because we're now going to we're shifting into a phase where we want to be buying cavalry, we want to be buying coastal buildings in our towns. We want to be spending a lot of gold, so we would rather get the building that produces the most gold in the Khotan. So we are actually building a wonder right now, so we'll go ahead and select that. And then toolmaking, I usually put a higher priority on toolmaking, but because we have so much science already, we don't need it as much, and we're just going to grab oratory to start increasing our influence. And I really do. I could probably do math and figure out exactly if we can actually get Shamron, but I kind of don't feel like doing that, so we're just going to play a vibes-based and hope that we can race them. Whatever. And yeah, we should start moving this slinger up to start helping take out Moreau. Keep on doing that. So yeah, that's what we're doing now. We're trying to build up a little bit of a force of Numidian cavalry so that we can really command this part of the map that we want to be on. We're gonna kind of continue spreading our navy, but our navy is already pretty spread. But we're just going to have them able to react and pillage the crap out of anybody who goes to war with us. And we're going to start trying to put up Punic ports in as many of our settlements as possible. So that's the game plan here. All right, it's turn 53, and we've had a slight pivot in our strategy due to events as they unfolded. So as I'm scrolling around the map here, you can see that I've got pretty much all of it explored. There's a little bit of the interior here where Confucius and the Han are that I can't see, but it's we're not going to be able to pillage them with our galleys, so we kind of don't really care what's going on in Confucius's land. Eventually we want to identify him just so we can trade with him, but we don't need to do that immediately. What we did find in Confucius's domain is we found the Taurus Delpain that have not been settled. So as Isabella Carthage, we are pretty interested in rectifying that. This isn't the greatest settle in the world, but there is a lake right here, so we can technically get a coastal settle because of that lake. So we can plop a settlement down here to really egregiously forward settle Confucius and capture the Touristal Pane in a pretty safe way here. Or we can take this settle, and we'll only get 2 tiles worth of the Touristal Pane, but we'll pick up a Jade that we wouldn't get otherwise, and we'll be slightly less egregious on forward settling Confucius. I think ultimately we're going to end up going for the southernmost tile just because I want the whole of the Touristal Pane. And then we've also got, there's a cluster of decent resources over here. So fish, salt, and hides, all very good high-tier resources to shoot for. The dyes are also a resource I like a lot, but they're kind of far away, so we're not going to be able to go for them. Realistically, we're probably going to settle like here, because this will capture both of these coastal resources that we want, and it'll also reach down to the Jade, which... Jade you don't really want to push super hard for most of the time. It isn't that great, but I think it is a bit better on Carthage than average, just because Carthage actually is concentrating most of its gold output in one city, so you get a little bit more out of percentage increases to your gold on Carthage, I believe, than you do in most cities. So because we found this kind of like excellent unsettled land, and Confucius hasn't settled it yet, we've actually made some settlers down here in Leptis, so we've also got some boats here, and we're going to be sending an expedition up around the coast here to reach this land and drop some settlers, and hopefully we can get there in time. We're feeling pretty good about it because our colonists move so fast, and we actually got the open borders with excuse me, with Lafayette here as well, so we'll be able to get through. We also had an interesting development. Napoleon went and took Pataliputra from Ashoka. So we've gone ahead and denounced Napoleon, and we're hoping to be in a war. In fact, we should see if we can kick that off now. We don't have to mount some military presence. I guess we could declare war formally since he's hostile to us. But we're happy doing this because he's too far away to trade with right now. We'll probably end up trading with him eventually, but we're not losing out by not being able to trade with him right now. We get to pillage Paladiputra because of him, and we have a ship in place to start doing that immediately, so we kind of don't care who owns it, we just want to pillage it for its resources, which we're going to do. We're going to start coastal raiding everything, and start... And this is especially nice to do now that we're in the Carthage civics, because now we actually... Because we have access to buying the Khotan, and pretty soon we're going to have... Oh, we do have access to buying the dockyard. We actually have something to spend all of this pillaging gold on. So, this is going to really... It's going to accelerate our economy to the point that we're going to start running out of control with Carthage, which is what you want to do. You kind of want to economically run out of control. Galleys, because of all the silver we've managed to find, galleys are actually super, super cheap. I think... Oh, we can't get one here because we don't have a naval district yet, unfortunately, and we want to wait until Wisdom of Tanit 2 finishes, because that's going to make buying things cheaper with Gallos, but that's the idea. Oh yeah, and we have a ship up here that we pre-positioned to pillage Napoleon's mainland, so we're just going to go ahead and collect, and we're just, every pillage we get 30 HP, which means that even if he starts putting some archers on us, we can just keep pillaging, and we get 30 gold, which isn't, if we look at it as 30 gold a turn while we're at war, it becomes pretty insane. Now, and especially since we've got 2 ships pillaging, we can essentially consider this 150 gold a turn, rather than 90 gold a turn, which is pretty excellent. So, we'll probably just put a lookout up here. I kind of don't feel like dealing with that scout right now, and I've scouted pretty much the whole map, so... so yeah, that's what we're doing. We're sending a, we're sending a little naval party up to, settle north of Confucius to capture some of these excellent resources and capture to the, Touristal Pane here, which this is kind of a wild start, too. I didn't realize we'd be getting such a good seed when I started this, but we've got, the Bermuda Triangle that we were able to settle. We spawned on the Great Barrier Reef. We were able to settle the Grand Canyon, and we might actually be able to settle it twice, depending on if we find the time to make a settlement over in this area. And if we can get there in time, we're going to settle the Touristal Pane as well. So, a 4-wonder game in Antiquity for Isabella is probably a little bit... That's a little bit of a high roll. I think we're comfortable in saying that. However, it is relevant that we're Carthage, because like we did high roll a little bit on the spawn of the map, but I don't think any civ could take advantage of it nearly as explosively as Carthage takes advantage of it, because we our settlers are just so fast. You know, we make them 2 at a time, and they move twice as fast as normal settlers. So, and our towns even grow faster since we get an extra population on settling the town. So, it's really, really good to pair a civilization that is excellent at settling with a ton of velocity with a leader, Isabella, who benefits greatly from settling all over the place. So, alright, let's take out something and put in Gallos. So this is going to let us start purchasing Punic ports, the unique district in all of our towns. We've got our researching here. We could technically go bronze working to get archers. I'm also interested in navigation to grab the lighthouse is actually it's actually very so even though you can only build 1 lighthouse, getting the 2 extra resources in your capital is basically 2 extra combat strength for all of your Numidian cavalry. And because at this point we want our entire army to be entirely Numidian cavalry and galleys, it's actually pretty worth it, I think, to go for nav. Plus, we get the ability to upgrade our galleries into quadriremes with navigation as well, which I find is usually not too relevant to do. Usually you're dominant enough on the sea, in my experience, that you don't really need to do that, but there we go. Now we've got 7 resources in our capital, so the Numidian cavalry are really going to start scaling. So, anyway, that's what's going on. We're at war with Napoleon now. Hopefully we can actually normalize relations with Ashoka and start trading with him, since he's weakened. We don't actually want anybody taken out of the game, and we don't want to let any one AI snowball too much over the other AIs. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna try to befriend and trade with anybody who's not doing well, and we're gonna try to pillage and beat back anybody who is doing well. So like right now, since Napoleon stole the capital from Ashoka, we're not necessarily helping Ashoka get his capital back, but we are really, really setting Napoleon back by destroying all of his infrastructure. And the AI will actually, you can actually notice them doing worse in the game and just being less effective because you've destroyed all their infrastructure. So not only is it going to fuel our economy, but it's going to do a pretty effective job of neutralizing what could be a threat to us in the future. So that's the rough plan here. We're going to defend our settlements. We're going to pillage. We're not actually interested in taking any of the cities at all. I guess you could kind of make an argument for Rasilla. That's a decent city for the way I'm playing, because it's got a great Punic port here, and it's got a couple of good coastal resources. But I don't really want to fight with Ashoka right now. I kind of want to help Ashoka. And then Saba is also kind of a decent place for me to steal, but I think I would rather just pillage it. So until that changes, that's what we're working on. We're working on getting some settlers up here, and we're working on pillaging Napoleon until he cries uncle. So, alright, so we're at turn 58 now, which is just 5 turns later than last time we stopped in. And I'm stopping in kind of early to show off, just because I want to show, excuse me, how fast Carthage actually starts to snowball, once it starts to snowball. So you notice 5 turns ago, I didn't have any Khotans on any of my towns, and I even switched my focus to starting to build up a military going to war with Napoleon, and we're trying to settle Confucius's north side here, which unfortunately Confucius did drop a settlement in there, so our dream of settling this tile is no longer real, because Confucius not only settled too close to it, but he didn't even settle a good city for me to steal. So we're not getting that settled. We might still try to settle over more on this jade to capture this mountainous tundra, and we've sent a Numidian cavalry up the coastline to try to take out Sagunia to hopefully enable us to settle right here to capture the entire Torrestal Plain and then grab both of these jades and the hides. It's not the greatest settle in the world, but if we can get the Torrestal Plain, we'll be pretty happy to get all 4 wonders on the or all 4 natural wonders on the starting continent as Isabella. That's usually a sign of a good game happening. But the point I'm trying to make is that even with our focus entirely on expansion and military still, like that's where most of our money and most of our attention is going, because we're making so much gold with the passive income that we've got now, and also just, we've had 2 galleys that have been pillaging for 30 gold every turn for the past 5 turns. So we've actually been able to make a ton of money off of this war with Napoleon. And as you can see, we've got a Khotan here in Matya. We can't build a Khotan in Rusicade. We've got our Khotan in Carthage. We've got our Khotan in Thinay. We've got our Khotan here in Leptis. So the economy of Carthage really starts to snowball once you've got all of your techs in place. And in this game, I've actually not been able to make many traders yet. So in this game, I probably would have actually been better off rushing the Punic ports instead of rushing the traders. But I think on average, trader rush is better than Punic port rush. It just did not work out that way in this specific game. So, but yep, that's all I want to show you. We're still probably going to try to settle in the north on Confucius, like I said, because there is still a settlement that allows us to capture the Taurus Stilpane, and we're still interested in doing that. And we're also still interested in grabbing this this settlement that has these 4 excellent resources here, or I guess 2 excellent. The fish and the hides are excellent. The pearls are okay, and the salt is situationally very good, but it's really good early game, and it falls off for Carthage, in my opinion. Fortunately, we don't have ship sheds too, so our galleys don't have range. It'd be nice to be able to plink at the. It's such a bummer moving these standard 2 embarked speed units through the water when we spend all this time moving nothing but colonists with 4 movement and galleys with 4 movement. You really get spoiled when you get used to everything moving at double speed. Let's see. There we go. We've managed to expand our borders to collect every. I guess technically we haven't gotten the dates, which we actually probably can get the dates, so we probably will try to eventually. But don't care about settlement cap or happiness. But yeah, so that's just trying to show off the this is the point when Carthage starts snowballing out of control, and we're just gonna keep on doing that. So hopefully I'll be back within like the next 10 turns or something like that, and ideally we'll have like 2 more towns up here, and we should have a lot of Punic ports. We should be starting to really pump out traders. So either way, catch you guys soon. Alright, so here we are at the end of turn 68, which is about 9 turns after last time I showed you guys where the game was. And as you can see, if we look closely at Napoleon's empire, a whole lot of it is a burning wreck. Especially, we just you can see this galley retreating and this galley starting to retreat, but we have been absolutely going wild pillaging Napoleon's lands, and we've been making quite a pretty penny out of it. We don't have a ton of gold stockpiled, but if we glance around at all of our towns, you'll start seeing that I've got more and more of my there's a Punic port that's entirely finished with both buildings. There's that's not a Punic port. I thought I had that one. But I've been able to turn it into infrastructure pretty steadily. I've got my my fishing town up here above Confucius, and we're actually going to be settling our Taurus Stilpane town as well. And it's not, when we first saw the Taurus Stilpane, we were hoping to be able to settle in this tile adjacent to where Liu Yang is. We're not going to be able to do that anymore, but we're still we can still capture both of these jades, this hide for sure, and maybe this salt. Actually, no, we can guarantee it. So we're going to go ahead and settle Thisdris there, and then we're going to grow ourselves right towards the Taurus Stilpane, because aside from being something we want to do to make sure that Confucius doesn't get it, it's also just excellent yields for us. 4 growth, 8 happiness. What's not to love? And then we're also going to so it doesn't do us anything right now, but we've got 3 mineable resources, so we're going to go ahead and build a brickyard on top of that farm. And the reason we're doing that so early is just because we want to excuse me, we want to grow our borders to ensure that Confucius, we're protecting that salt. So we might not even be taking, like, our next 2 growths are probably going to be to the Taurus Stilpane, but we just wanted to make sure we got the salt within our borders so that Confucius can't grow and capture it from us. So hopefully we can maintain Confucius as a trading partner, and he doesn't go to war with us. He's expanding into some camels here. He's got some gold here. He's got dates, and he's going to have a decent amount of jade in his empire. So we would really prefer to keep Confucius as a trading partner, especially because he's not really pillageable. So war with Confucius is not nearly as profitable as war with Napoleon has been. But that's we're kind of catapulting ourselves ahead now, which is pretty exciting. So I think it's worth starting to think about the victory conditions at this point. We're only at 42% of the way through, but it's worth starting to think about. So the first one, the culture legacy path, where you have to build wonders. You basically would have to build 7 wonders within Carthage itself, since Carthage is the only city that you're going to have, so it's the only place you can build wonders. So what I generally do is I shoot for 4 wonders, so that I can get the 2 points, the 2 legacy points, and then I don't try to go for the last couple of wonders. So I like to get Bursa because I think it's worth getting the every civ should be trying to build the wonder that you get 30% extra production on, just because it's, if nothing else, it's an adjacency boost to all of your districts, so it's worth building. And the effects of Bursa are actually pretty decent for Carthage. So we got Bursa. We are moving towards Colosseum now, which is another one. We like to have a Colosseum as one of our wonders. I really like getting Nalanda. I usually can't get, but I usually go for it because I really like both Nalanda and Angkor Wat. So if I can get either of those, I'm pretty happy. And then beyond that, I just go for whatever 4th wonder. So like sometimes it's Oracle because people never build Oracle. Sometimes it's this Humunga Maui isn't super common that the AI go for it, so that's roughly our plan, and we're gonna get there eventually because we're pushing out so aggressively onto the map, and we pretty much control the seas with our galleys. Carthage kind of just gets to SimCity. It doesn't need to be worried about anything except building up the most insane capital that has ever seen the face of the earth. With the rest of our cities, so we're thinking the economic victory point it's kind of guaranteed, honestly. So if we look at our resource allocation, you'll see that first of all, I got a ton of resources in Carthage because you just get a bunch of extra ways to put resources in Carthage. This is going to make our Numidian cavalry insane, and it's also going to make getting the economic legacy points almost trivial, especially when you look at so this Thinay town, you'll notice it has 3 resource spots available, and that's because the Punic Port Unique District actually just gives you 2 extra resource spots. So with that in mind, it's relatively easy. Once all of these start becoming Punic Ports, we'll have more than enough places to slot 21 resources and get the economic legacy path, so we don't even really have to think about that one too much. That's just going to kind of happen in the course of our standard gameplay as we build Punic ports and send merchants out to everywhere to collect all the resources. Military, we're already actually on 7 points because we've settled 6 towns. We've settled a lot of towns. Ideally, we want to pick 1 or 2 cities we'd like to invade late game and take over. So, candidates, I don't really want to knock Ashoka out of the game. I hope that he can make a comeback in this age, and we're trying not to hurt him at all. But Ujjaini is actually a decent city for our town for us to consider taking out, because it's excellent defensively, and it'll be a decent Punic port location. Plus, it's got happiness resources, which we like happiness. We look at happiness as a way to break the settlement limit cap. Either Risala or Palipatara are also nice, like they're coastal cities, so we like them. If I had to choose, I like Risala better. I don't really want to take... I mostly don't want to take this because I don't want the AIs to be too weak to participate in the game in future eras, and that's a problem I've been having as I've been playing Carthage, this extremely dominant forward settling way. We could think about taking Saba. It's actually got it's got Durshurken in it, which makes it kind of hard to take, but it's cool to get cities with wonders. Roma is always a fun option. There's Roma's probably going to be a good city. He actually built his unique district in the same location. I'm amazed. So that Roma's actually a real option for us to take late game. And we're not like planning on doing that right now, but we do kind of want to we want to basically capture, if we capture 2 cities right at the end of the game, then we can cause the Antiquity Age to end as we complete this legacy path. So that's kind of that's how we're going to excuse me, get more legacy paths than the game expects you to be able to get is by setting some up so that we need to take like one action to get the points, so that we can like capture the last two deities on the same turn as we slot in our last codexes or something like that. So that's roughly where we're going. The science one is normally pretty hard to do with Carthage, but as you've noticed, we've had a much higher than average amount of science for Carthage, and our science isn't anything insane, and it's a relatively low science game all around. But we'll probably just be able to get the 10 codexes in the course of playing the game normally. There is some consideration to so we don't have them all slotted immediately. And what's nice is that most of our codices are going to be slotted into trading outpost towns, and we can kind of so I mentioned that we're going to try to finish the military legacy path on the last possible turn. We're also going to try to do that with the science legacy path, so that we can get around the game trying to end if you get too many points. And it'll make more sense later on in the game when we do that, but that's how we're thinking about that. And then we've already covered the economic. That one is kind of just, we don't need to think about economic. That's just kind of going to happen for us. So that's where we are. We're okay with our war with Napoleon ending if he wants peace. We might even ask him for peace, just because he needs time to rebuild before we pillage him again. And while he's rebuilding, we can trade with him if we want to. But, we've already got most of the value out of him. We're kind of interested in one more settle here to finish taking advantage of the Grand Canyon. But other than that, unless we don't have any... unless we decide to capture no cities, we're probably done settling. I guess there's a pretty decent settle over here with cotton, silver hides, and a lot of jade. So we might try to go for this settle. Actually, the more I think about it, I think I've talked to myself. Though we don't actually get that hides, because that hides is already going to be allocated to Thistris. Still, a cotton silver settle with two jades. Jade's pretty weak generally, but Carthage does make better use of jade than other civs do, I believe. So we might settle here. We kind of need to do it soon because Confucius will probably expand that way if we don't do it soon. But and this also, you can really see the tempo of this, and maybe this is just because the AI settle way too slowly, but we're on, our capital's huge. We've got 3 relatively close settlements that are all getting close to that 10 population mark that are pretty big. I guess 4 relatively close settlements. And then we've also got this kind of like a colony on our own continent up in the very northmost part. So we're sitting on 7 settlements while the AI are all on Rome's on 1 settlement, China's on 3 settlements. Napoleon and this one's kind of weird because these two are warring with each other for some reason. But so we're vastly outpacing the AI in terms of settling, and they'll eventually catch up. And it is going to be a little bit weird because we're going to have to play a very forward settled empire. If I know my AI well, they're probably going to try to settle somewhere in here to grab this wine and this iron, maybe even just that wine. I bet they're going to try to settle over here somewhere. The AI will absolutely settle here if I don't. It's actually kind of nice that there's a hostile city-state there. We're going to start moving our commander this way because we want to take out Kali-chan, I think. We're making the lighthouse there, and we don't have anything super, super important to make immediately after. So we're going to throw the colonists in queue. And for 2 reasons. We are pretty drastically over the settlement cap, but... So 1, we don't care about the settlement cap. We're fine with most of our towns being unhappy because the unhappiness penalty doesn't matter that much outside of cities. And Carthage has a ton of happiness from the natural wonder, so that's not a problem. But there's also the fact that it's better to have your settlers in place when you gain settlement limit than it is to wait for settlement limit and then build your settlers. I'm not even though I'm not actually hurting the settlement limit by training my settlers early, so that's what we're gonna do. But other than that, I think the overall strategy is pretty much the same. Like I said, we're kind of interested in ending this war with Napoleon just because we've pillaged all there is to pillage. Hopefully Confucius doesn't go to war with us. We've been kind of we've been sending a lot of diplomatic actions at him to kind of butter him up. We really don't want him to get mad at us because we would much rather trade with him than fight him. But we do have access to the Numidian cavalry, so it's not like we have no tools against him. Other than that, we're going to continue just building out our infrastructure in all of our towns. Maybe go for a settle here. Maybe go for a settle here to capture the Grand Canyon. And maybe start our designs on taking Roma. I think I probably am going to take Roma, especially if Lafayette doesn't settle any more cities. We might just kick him out of the game, since he's kind of just taking up space. And he amazingly also made a decent forum, or he actually made a forum. I don't even know if this is a decent forum, but it is a forum, and the AI seems very commonly to separate their two unique buildings and not make the unique district. So this is, as far as AI settled cities go, this is actually decent. Other than that, I guess we will see you next time there's some kind of major strategic change. But yeah, that's where we are. So now we're back here on turn 85, so just over 15 turns from the last time that I recorded for this. Unfortunately, China has settled right here, has settled Xuchang, or however you pronounce that. I hope that was not too far off, and that's going to lock us out from both the silver and the cotton here, meaning that we can't really go for a settle here anymore. It's not really worthwhile. Luckily, he's still neutral with us, and even a little bit positive. We have been pushing diplomacy on him to try to keep him neutral, just because him being super inland, we're just not interested in raiding him. Napoleon finally sued for peace. We were actually able to go for another round of burning down his empire, so we were, and you can see my gold is pretty significant. I'm making almost 250 gold per turn at this point, and we're on 7 of 7 cities, or settlements. So, speaking of the settlement limit, we've got this settler here, which is going to take advantage of the Grand Canyon a second time, so we're going to capture a ton of flat terrain, and have some Grand Canyon tiles in this town, so that should be fairly strong. Let's, oop, that was not the town I expected to expand there, but we want to expand that town as well. And this is, so what we're doing right now isn't, it's probably not the absolute best for achieving legacy points at this point. Like, we've probably gone fairly overkill on getting the legacy points. we could technically try to settle on this Grand Canyon once more, which I wonder if there's fresh water in there. I might actually try for it. There is fresh water, so I could technically drop a settle right here to capture silk, dates, gypsum, and maybe this just gypsum, because Rusicade isn't super interested in expanding that way. We might really try to milk this Grand Canyon. That's not what we're going to do right this moment, because I also want to... so at this point, I'm kind of trying to set up for Exploration Age, right? So I'm really interested in settling over here. The fish and the dyes are kind of nice. Elephants aren't insane for me during antiquity, but elephants become very good in exploration. I believe elephants are, I want to say they're 4 protection, 4 happiness in exploration, so we're pretty happy to capture that elephant tile. And if I settle right here, we should also grab the silk and the marble. There's no way to fit the incense in, but that's a really defensive settle that captures a decent amount of resources that are middling in value, but it also gives us an excellent port city to mess with the distant lands that are over here during Exploration Age, and we're pretty interested in being able to, we've already got a pretty strong presence on the left side of the map as far as getting the distant lands, but if we're able to settle and grow a town up pretty decently big here, that's kind of the goal here. So we're going to continue moving this settler along the coastline towards this little port city settle, and that's really a lot of these are all towns, obviously, which means we can't build a ton of buildings in them, which is unfortunate. But what we do have is we have Punic ports in most of them, which give a little bit of food, a lot of production, and a little bit of gold, which is an absolute excellent seed for a city. Like, that's a great way to start off a city, is with a 10 resource building that's heavy on production, food, and gold. that is in the water, so it's not taking up spaces. So we can make pretty much any of these towns with 10 or 12 populations. They're going to be cities in exploration. So that's kind of what we're focusing on right now. We've actually already finished the economic legacy path, as I mentioned. Since we're pushing traders whenever we've got resources to whatever. I'll do that later. We've got resources all over the place, so it's pretty easy to hit the legacy path. We're still doing pretty well in the military. We're about to settle 2 more towns, so we're going to jump up to 9 here. This one. So 1 more town, I guess, is accurate. And then, I'm not sure, but we're gonna try to finish that as one of our last actions. Culture, we are currently building the Colosseum, so that should hopefully get us up to at least 1 point on the culture legacy path. Our culture is looking a little bit weak this game, so it might be unrealistic that we get Notre Dame this game, which would be kind of unfortunate. But we are more interested in going for organized military first, just to get the settlement limit, and then we're going to push for Notre Dame. So hopefully we get it, but I'm not holding out a ton of hope for being able to. Or not Notre Dame, excuse me, Angkor Wat. Using the wrong name constantly. Angkor Wat is the or the wonder that I'm interested in going for there. As far as the science front goes, we don't have a ton of codices right now, but that's not a huge problem because our science is chugging along pretty well. We're finishing mathematics here pretty soon, and then once we finish mathematics, we'll just start backfilling all of these masteries, which should get us to. Honestly, I think we're probably getting all 10 codices this run, which is not something I'm always pulling off with Carthage, but this feels like the run where we are going to max it out. Yeah, so we're going for the 2 settles. Unfortunately, Rome is pretty happy with us, and we still could sack and steal Rome, but they're also pretty weak, and I kind of like having more AIs in the game to fight amongst each other and keep them weak. Handan, that China just settled, represents a city that we could take, and we're interested in taking probably at least 1 town before the end of the era, just because we would rather not have to settle 11. We'd rather not have 12 towns to get to. And it's not terrible if we have, I've done that plenty of times, and it does work. You can just straight up settle your way into the military legacy path, and between picking up fealty in the next era, the smattering of militaristic and expansionist attribute points that you get, and some other effects, you can actually get to exploration with 12 settlements, and it doesn't hurt that badly. But we'd like to have at least 1 captured so that we can keep that down to 11, and we are kind of running out of options for a good city to capture. We might just take Ujjaini here. Ujjaini. I'm hopefully not pronouncing that too terribly incorrectly. Just because the location is really convenient. This is going to be super easy for us to attack, almost impossible for him to defend, and it's a kind of a shipping lane that we want access to. I'm not really happy about how blocked off Matya is from the kind of like the main chunk of my empire over here. So that's what we're thinking. Yeah, and anyway, I'll get back with you once we're a little bit further on. So we're on turn 87 now. This is only actually 2 turns later than the last time we checked in, but Ashoka has gone and declared war on me for some reason. So we mentioned that we're kind of interested in taking Ujjaini. So since he's gone and declared war, I think we're just going to go ahead and try to do that now, and that is going to shoot us up way over the settlement cap for a while, but we're going to plan on that just not mattering very much. Ooh, I didn't notice this. Napoleon is also kind of... I can still get a good port city settle here, but it's going to be a little bit more fraught with Napoleon having settled right where he did. So we might actually settle this tile so that we can get 2 population off the bat and immediately snag the elephants. And we do lose out on the silk if we choose. I guess we don't grab the elephants, but we protect the elephants if we just settle here and use our 1 population. So we're still probably going to settle right here, actually. We're just going to have some happiness penalties to deal with because we are planning on taking out, because this is so we've got my Numidian cavalry. They are currently at you see plus 12 strength from resources assigned to my capital Carthage. So this is insane. You notice I'm almost one-shotting this archer despite the 8 bonus from difficulty. Oh, I am actually one-shotting the archer. I lied. So we'll move our second Numidian cavalry into place. Move our archer up. It's always good to shoot first, because that lowers the combat strength of the enemy unit before your unit. And even attacking the spearmen. It's not like we're not one-shotting the spearmen, but we're still 10 combat strength ahead of the spearmen, even with the deity bonus. So these Numidian cavalry are absolutely incredibly powerful. They you can really hold your ground with them. You can handle almost any war, and there are ways to, like, you know, if you're playing against someone who's really min-maxing like hoplites or legions or something like that, then there can be units that are comparable to yours in strength, but as far as what the AI is going to do to you, you're very likely not going to have to worry about things once you have Numidian cavalry around. And let's upgrade to some Kinkareems as well. Or are these? They're not Kinkareems, they're Quadriremes. Kinkareems is the name of the tradition that makes it cheaper to buy. So we could pillage here, but given that I actually kind of want to take this city, this is a decent Carthage town, I think we're not going to pillage, just because any gold we would make pillaging, we're going to turn around and spend repairing once we grab the city. And I do not expect, I don't expect Ashoka to be able to hold on to this for very long. I think he miscalculated pretty drastically when he decided that declaring on me at the time that he did was a good idea. I'm just gonna... Oh, I forgot about the cliffside there. I thought my archer was gonna be able to shoot. Oh well. Yeah, actually, we just want to start beginning the siege of Ujjaini already, because this Numidian cavalry almost has full health and has access, so we're gonna go in and deal almost half of the city's health while taking 9 damage, because these cavalry are just so good. They are nuts in one of the most aggressive ways. The commander is basically just here to soak up experience at this point. It's not super relevant that he's here. And okay, so we got tactics, which we don't really care about other than the fact that it gets us closer to organized military, which Mausoleum of Theodric is probably gone at this point. I haven't checked, but we're probably just doing this for the settlement limit increase. Continue to not care that we're over the settlement cap. Let's see. Let's take this shot while the commander's in range. And then we'll lose a little bit of XP there, but I'd rather not have a spearman running around on my backline. Luckily the AI doesn't know how to pillage, so it wouldn't be that bad to let him go. But I'm hoping that Firaxis put out some updates before too long that fix that and make the AI start pillaging, because currently they're just trivially easy to war down, which I don't know, maybe maybe I'm remembering like playing Civ 7 back from before I understood the game as well as I kind of do now, but even on Deity, the AI seemed trivially easy to beat in 7 so far, which is kind of a bummer. And I do not remember that being the case in Civ 6. There's our 9th point of Pax Imperiatoria, which is pretty exciting. Let's go ahead and finish off that archer. Oh, we didn't actually get him. That's kind of surprising. We're actually going to retreat this cavalry, just because this is a very... Like, we're probably losing this spearman. The spearman probably should have retreated too. And we don't want to fight these 2 archers in this choke point, especially since we're kind of taking the city from the other side anyway. Oh, and I didn't realize it, but Teotihuacan is actually sending boats and helping us out in this war too. As if this wasn't one side. I get that Ashoka was upset with me for forward settling him the way I did, but it just seems short-sighted to go to war about it, you know? I would normally say that in war nobody wins, but I'm very clearly winning in this case, and I don't think there's much you can do about it. Yeah, there we go. That's the first city, and let's get. I said I was going to go leadership on this commander, but this commander's actually been pretty active with my cavalry running around. So we're just going to move towards the end of the bastion tree. Mostly, like, the bastion tree is a very good one. And technically, I wouldn't mind switching him to assault or like grabbing some logistics point at this point because I'm using the commander differently than I thought I was going to be. But I do think it's worth it to get all the way down to a commendation, if you can. So we're certainly going to keep this settlement. So here's where we're at with the 10 out of 7. And if we look at the resources screen to see our yields, we'll see that amazingly Carthage is still in positive happiness. So Carthage isn't suffering a penalty from happiness, which is excellent, and that means that we don't care as much that we're over the limit. But even our cities that are suffering happiness penalties are still not that bad. Thysdrus is a little bit of an outlier because Thysdrus has the entirety of Porus Delpain in its borders. It's building a cool 24 happiness, which is just insane happiness income. And the rest of these cities are all, they're experiencing penalties, but we have so many of them that it kind of doesn't matter. You know, our gold income is still excellent. And it's going to get a little bit better as we get organized military, which is on its way. And it's also something that we can start looking at cities and specializing them if we're happy with how much they've grown. So it looks like Thanay is already a trade outpost. We're getting the maximum happiness out of that, but I guess hopefully we don't get the happiness crisis. But even then, if we get the happiness crisis, it lets us build villas, so that's almost even good for us, because oftentimes this build, you end up having tens of thousands of gold at the end of the game that just kind of pile up in your treasury because you've already bought everything. So the last thing I think we have to decide here is if I want to take Rasilla now and finish off Ashoka. I think we're gonna box him in with the Navy to make sure that we're getting him soon, but I don't want to take him immediately just because I don't want to trigger the last the age regression from the last point of Pax Imperatoria being finished. I think I want to wait until I'm able to science my way through quite a few more codices before I capture that last city. So that's probably what we're going to do for now, and I expect that's probably how we're going to end the era. So I'll probably be on recording here one more time for the the last turn, the last 2 or 3 turns of the era, to show how we're going to squeeze a few extra legacy points out of the game. Alright guys, we are on turn 120 now, so it's been quite a bit since I updated. I got the Plague Crisis, so that's a fairly easy one for us to handle. For the most part, as long as it's not hitting Carthage, we kind of don't care if our cities get plagued. And even it did hit Carthage, but it happened to hit Carthage while we were building the Pyramid of the Sun, so it didn't affect us too much. So let's take stock of where we are real quick. First of all, this is look at all these yields in Carthage. We're super happy with this this mega city that we've got, plus all of the wonders that are spattered all around it. But I think what's really amazing about our empire is just all of these consistently pretty good little towns that we have everywhere. You know, we've got 14 population here, 14 population here, 12 here, 15 here, 8 here. So if I'm adding them up real quick, that's about 75 population. Another 11 makes 86. 14 makes 100. 11 makes 111. So I've got 111 population in towns right now, which means that, you know, if we, obviously taking a look at the AI's empires, they're going to be pretty low, but this is just, it's just a ton of population to have. And you see as I'm scrolling around my land, because I was able to take all of the most choice land because of the rapid pace at which I was settling, you see I've got step pyramids all over the place that are giving me extra science, plus all of the culture and science that I'm kind of getting from natural wonders instead of getting from buildings the way that you would with most civs. So we just have this huge economic engine that is really going to be impressive once we switch into exploration. Like it's looking big now, but you lose surprisingly little from this empire when the age rolls over and all of your buildings go obsolete. So I think that's one of the biggest strengths of Carthage, is just how powerful it puts you into the exploration age. So we're not actually going to end the game right here. You see I've got it at 85% right now, so I technically have a couple of turns if I want to. But, so we managed to get the 4 wonders to get 2 points of the culture. So we're going to try to get the 7 wonders, because why not, but I don't think realistically we're going to get it. Military, we're only 1 point away from finishing the military legacy path, and I've actually got a settler sitting here to take advantage of this last tile of the Great Canyon, but he's just asleep here, and he's going to stay asleep until we're actually ready to end the age. And the same thing going for the codices actually as well. You see we've got 9 codices on display here, and we've got 1 codice in the archive, so at any point in time we can go to a city, switch it to a trade outpost, and pop that last codex in to get the last victory point. But by leaving both of those legacies kind of unfinished, we can get a little bit of extra time to try and research towards like future tech for an advantage in the next stage. Same thing for the civics; we can get closer to future civics, and we also get another shot at building Angkor Wat, which isn't like, it's not make or break if we get Angkor Wat or not, but the specialist limit is nice in every age, so we'd be pretty happy to get Angkor Wat out of the end of this era. So that's kind of just what we're doing. We managed to end all of our wars, and a war could happen, but at this point I probably wouldn't even show it on the video, because all of our enemies, like here Napoleon was our big competitor. He's got 5 settlements that have a combined. I guess Axum's pretty big. Axum actually it's almost as big as Carthage. Carthage only has 6 more people in it, but the wars are pretty trivial at this point with the amount of economy we have, plus the fact that if we look at our resources right now, Carthage has a lot of resources. This is so I think that's 22 resources in Carthage, so that means that my Numidian cavalry are baseline a 52 strength unit, plus how many horses do I have? 2 extra horses, so that makes a baseline 54 strength unit. Wars aren't really a problem for me anymore. If an enemy goes to war with me, I kind of just steamroll them with the massive economic advantage I have, combined with the fact that the Numidian cavalry is just, maybe it was meant to be the absolute strongest unit in antiquity. It certainly is. Like nothing competes with that unit right now. So that's all we're trying to do. We're just trying to SimCity for the last little bit of value we can get out of the Antiquity Age here, and we have the trigger ready to pull to finish our last couple of legacy points whenever we want to. So I will probably stop one more time to talk about where we ended up to show like because this is certainly a high roll for this strategy too. The amount of wonders I was able to get into my empire is absolutely insane. Oh, we don't actually have a spot for Angkor Wat. I didn't think about that, but there's no rivers in this town, so oh well. It's still worth it to try to push out some future civics and future tech, I think. So we will keep on pushing that. Other than that, we don't need the happiness from the arena. We're just going to, I don't know, we're going to push research, I guess, in Carthage, and we'll just queue up a couple of those. So, anyway, yeah, I'll be back with you guys once I'm ready to end this Antiquity Age, so catch you soon. And here we are with what's going to be the actual last turn of the game. So we've got future tech about here about to finish in 1 turn, and unfortunately this was the only future tech we're going to be able to get, and we were not able to get any future civics. But so we'll press next turn here and wait for it to roll over. We will get future tech that'll push the age progress up to 100%, and now that we know we're on the last turn, we'll take this settler, or this colonist rather, that's been sleeping here, and we will set up a town to get that last point of Pax Imperatoria. So we've got 3 of 3 Pax Imperatoria, and then we will also take just any old town. We'll switch it over to a trade outpost, and we will slot in that last codex to finish out the science legacy path. So that's going to overall give us 3 out of 3 economic, 3 science, 3 military, and only 2 culture. But I'm gonna say I'm pretty happy with an 11 point finish here, and that's on top of the fact that. So let me handle this city before I forget, or the town. What do we? We'll pop a specialist in the Punic port. Antiquity age is ending. Gotcha. Do we have all the resources here? It looks like it, so we'll just get... we'll grow our borders, sure. And there we go, that's the one we just settled. So, we want to reach the Grand Canyon, probably, as quickly as possible, since that's the reason we took this settlement. And then, let's, spend some gold, since we're about to lose most of it for the age transition. We'll grab, let's see, probably a granary here, since we're hoping to take advantage of a lot of his flat tiles. So we'll drop a granary down there to bounce the population. We're also going to put an altar down here to, once again, just spread our borders. And then we're going to grow up this way, and that'll allow us to capture, yeah, that's quite a bit of extra science we're milking out of this Grand Canyon by settling and spreading the city on the last turn. So if we scroll through all of our towns real quick, well, I guess with the exception of Thenay, we can't see what's in it because it's got the plague. But you know, we've bought altars in all of them. We've bought every step pyramid that our land can support. And we've got the relevant warehouse buildings and all of the oh, we don't have every step pyramid that our land can support, but luckily we still have quite the war chest here to fix that. Hadrometum probably wouldn't be a bad candidate for a granary either, actually, so we'll go ahead and get him a granary. And I see a lot of woods as well. Oh, that's kind of a bummer that China settled my my volcano tiles. Oh well. We should try to put the saw pit somewhere here. We'll we'll just throw the saw pit on the city hall. This is probably going to stay a town for its entire lifetime, so it's not going to hurt to stack the warehouse buildings up kind of haphazardly. So, man, that really is a bummer that he settled right there. I guess I'm in no place to complain about the AI forward settling me. I've been kind of egregious about that, but yeah. So that's that's a giant city in Carthage, and then 10 pretty well-off towns. I guess realistically, probably 8 well-off towns and 2 pretty small towns. But we've also got these Punic ports. We've got we'll just move around the empire real quick. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Punic ports ready for the next age, and they're all between like 5 and 8 production, 2 to 4 food, and like 2 to 4 gold. So they're gonna be a great way to start the city, or start cities in the next age. So we're super happy with this start. So we'll sure future tech again, skip the resource assignment, which is just absolutely filled up because of all of the trading that we've been doing as well. But it's the last turn, so I don't really care what's on it. And there we go. That'll be the end of the Antiquity era. And that's probably where we're going to end the video here. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. If if you guys have been theory crafting with Carthage as well, I would love to hear what you guys think about the Civ. If you have a different take on how to play it, or whatever the case, whatever your opinion is, let me know in the comments, and I will try to get back to you. Other than that, thank you everyone so much for watching the video, and I will catch everybody next time. Bye bye.